The whole entire settings menu in Fortnite can be a little bit confusing sometimes, but that's why I'm here. I'm going to go through and explain every controller setting that's relevant and that's important that you need to know about. And I'm also going to give you some recommended settings depending on what your controller playstyle is, whether that's exponential, no claw, paddles, two paddles, so on and so forth. So let's not waste any time and let's get right into it. Alrighty, so let's just go ahead and hop right into our settings. So guys, first we're going to start on the video tab. Now really quick, for my controller players that play on PC, make sure your windowed mode is full screen, your resolution is 1920 by 1080. Make sure you keep VSync off because this gives you a terrible input delay. I have my frame rate manually capped at 237, as you can see up in the top right. And the reason why is because that gets rid of screen tearing in the game on my monitor. So it helps a lot. And if you want to know how to do that, go ahead and click the video in the top right corner of the screen on that card after you watch this video. Now rendering mode, make sure you're on performance mode, and your colorblind and brightness settings, these are all personal preference. To be honest, I don't mess with any of it because I think it all looks ugly. The only one I used to use was tritanope 10 because it would let you see through the zone in game a little bit better, but also I make content, so I don't really like having that on because it makes my game look a little bit ugly. Then once you're on performance mode, just make sure you have everything off and to the left, and then of course show FPS is personal preference. And a quick side note for you console players, you guys on your video tab are going to have a motion blur option that I don't have on my screen. And the reason why is because I'm on performance mode, but you can't get onto performance mode on console. So make sure you go to motion blur and you turn your motion blur off if you're on one of the new gen consoles. But guys, before we continue, I wanted to tell you all about Noble chairs. This is by far the most comfortable chair I've ever had the grace of sitting in. And the amazing people over at Noble Chairs have even won awards for how comfortable these chairs are. But it's not all about how comfortable these things are. They have so many features. So let me show you. This chair has two armrests that are completely customizable diagonally, to the sides, up and down, literally every way that you possibly can imagine. This thing can move. This chair can also recline all the way back, but it also has a tilt feature, so you can literally completely lay flat in this chair, and it's so comfortable for those long gaming sessions when you just want to kick back and just play some games. Hey guys, also check this out. There's a lumbar pillow and a neck pillow, and these things are so soft. They are way too comfortable. I actually never knew I needed this in my life, I'm gonna be honest. And guys, one of my favorite features is the lumbar support. You just twist this knob right here and you can just kiss your back pain goodbye. And this is super important to me because I'm 6'5", and having this literally saves my back when I work every single day. And guys, they also have tons of cool different designs, styles, shapes, and sizes. They have some really nice looking leather chairs and some really cool design chairs like this too. But as you can see, I went with this cloth one because this one looks super comfortable and breathable. And every time I sit down in this chair, it just feels like it's giving me a big hug. The design on this chair is absolutely amazing, and the people over at Noble Chairs did an amazing job with that. So be sure to go check out Noble Chairs with the link in the description and go check out all what they have to offer. So now that you know where to go to get a good chair for an affordable price, let's go ahead and continue on with the video. All right, guys, I'm moving right on to the game tab. So obviously you want to keep your matchmaking region on whatever region you're on, not on auto. The reason why is because you don't want it accidentally throwing you on central or throwing you on west or just a different server that might have a lower latency for a second because your server latency boosted up, and you just want to stay on the one that you're closest to. Then come down to the movement tab, and for auto open doors, this is personal preference. I like to keep mine off just in case I'm in a house or a building and I don't want to accidentally open a door. That happened to me a few times, so I just keep it off. But some people like to keep it on in case they mess up an edit and they could just continue going right on through if they accidentally edit a door like that. But for me, I don't usually do that often, so I just keep mine off. Then mantle activation, keep this on hold jump. Hold forward is whenever you just walk forward, it's going to automatically mantle for you. And whenever it's on hold jump, you have to jump and then hold your jump button to be able to mantle. And if you keep that on hold forward, you're going to be mantling so often when you don't actually mean to. Then for the combat tab, we're just going to keep all four of these settings off, but we're going to come down to preferred item slots, and you could copy what I have here. This also is personal preference, but the only thing I do recommend is that you keep your shotgun on your very first slot. And the reason why I say to keep your shotgun in the first slot is because whenever you're building around with your pickaxe out and you go to take a wall like this, whenever you press your build mode bind again to put your builds away and your pickaxe is out, all you have to do is press RB once and you're instantly at your shotgun, so you can take an edit and shoot at your opponent. And you can copy mine here if you'd like, but the rest is personal preference. And auto store consumables to right, this gets negated for the preferred item slots. Now we're going to scroll down to building, and we're going to keep reset building choice on. Then we're going to take disable pre-edit option off. Whenever you have disable pre-edit option off, you're able to pre-edit all of your structures just like like this. And whenever people build, sometimes that can get annoying because let's say you accidentally think you placed a wall there, but then you accidentally just pre-edited your wall and it doesn't actually place exactly like how you'd want it to. Well, that's why Epic Games added this disable pre-edit option. But the reason why you want to keep this off and not use this option is because it gives you a horrible edit delay, especially when you're on controller, and you'll definitely feel it when you're trying to edit fast just like this. So that's why I recommend you keep this off. Then turbo building, obviously keep on, and then auto confirm edits, I recommend you keep this on both. But the reason I only keep mine on edit is because as you can see right here, I have a controller scroll wheel, and this is what I use to reset all my edits. But whenever you have auto confirm edits on both, all you have to do is press your edit bind, which is a paddle for me on the back of my controller. You select your edit and then you just let go and it instantly confirms it for you. And same thing for reset when you have reset on release on as well. So definitely keep those guys on. And now we're going to scroll down and just past a few that are only personal preference. And I'm going to come to Nvidia highlights and just make sure you have this off. This is default on for PC players. And this is pretty much recording in the background at all times, trying to clip your game. So you don't really want to have this on because that takes up horsepower from your PC. Then tap to search / interact. You definitely want this on. To search a chest, all you have to do is tap your interact button once and it'll automatically hold it down for you. So you don't have to press and hold. And it's a lot easier whenever you're trying to loot quickly. Now come down to the very bottom and turn all of your replays off. This is the same thing as Nvidia highlights. It pretty much is recording everything in the background and it'll just use more horsepower from your PC, which will give you more input delay and less FPS. And same thing with the energy saving modes down here. You want to keep these both off. Now come into the game UI tab. This is all completely personal preference, but if you do want the OG damage feedback numbers, you can copy my settings that I have here because I like the original way it looked. And then for your HUD options, of course, this is all personal preference and you can turn anything and everything off if you want, but this is what I use. Now for the touch and motion tab. So these are the gyro settings. All of this needs to be off or all the way to the left. You don't want your console constantly searching for a gyro compatible controller. And as we all know, the standard way on how to play Fortnite with your thumbsticks is way better than gyro. So I just recommend you keep all of that off. Now for the keyboard and mouse sensitivity, I don't play it very often, but I have these settings down. This is what I use on keyboard if you want to see. But now on to most likely the stuff that you came here for. So these are the controller options and we're going to start from the very top and work our way down. So for controller auto run, you can go ahead and keep this off. Your character is always running anyways. You don't need to worry about that. The only one you got to worry about is your sprint option, and we'll talk about that here shortly. Then build immediate for Builder Pro, you definitely want to keep this on. Edit hold time, you could keep all the way to the very left because if you're still pressing and holding a button to edit, we're going to change that in this video, so you don't need to worry about this either. And slide hold time at 0.70, this is the perfect slide hold time that I found in between wanting to actually crouch and wanting to actually slide. It's as quick as you possibly can get it without accidentally making a mistake whenever you're trying to just crouch. Then for the reset camera access, this is for the driver settings. You can just keep this on whatever it's default. Same thing with reset camera time. And vibration, definitely keep this off. If anything, this could hurt your aim whenever you're aiming from a medium to long range. When your controller's vibrating and you're trying to aim, it might mess up your aim a little bit, especially if you're on linear and a low dead zone. So I do recommend you keep that one off. Now for the sensitivity. So I'm going to give you a baseline sensitivity and then I'm going to show you how to work and find your own sensitivity of what works for you. But first and foremost, I want you to come to use advanced options and I want you to turn this off for a moment. Then I want you to come up to the non-advanced sensitivity, which are these two right here. And I want you to move these all the way down to 1. Then come down back to your advanced options and then turn your advanced options back on. Then you could change your sensitivity from there. And the reason why we want these at 1 and not the default of 4 is because this gets rid of a in-game dead zone. It is super hard to explain, and all I can say is I recommend you try turning advanced options down to 1 sensitivity because your aim will be so much better and more consistent. It pretty much just makes your aim feel a lot more sticky, and for your mechanics, it makes you feel much more consistent. So I recommend you give it a shot. Now for your build and edit mode sensitivity, I recommend anybody start anywhere from 1.8 to 2.0. I recommend using a lower sensitivity on your build and edit and then increase it slowly with time. And as you can see, I still use 2.0 edit and build mode, and I don't raise it any more than that because that's what I'm comfortable with and that's what I've been playing on for years. So I even play on a slower technically build and edit sensitivity. But if you do feel like it is a bit slow, only bump it up by 1 and then hone it in and wait for a day. And if you still like it up a little bit faster on that 2.1 instead of 2.0, for example, keep it there and then keep on moving it up slowly over time. Now, if you're looking horizontal speed, I recommend a 40/40. This is what most pros play on, and this is what I'm most comfortable on as well. But if you are playing exponential and not linear, I recommend your horizontal speeds to be somewhere around 50% instead of 40%. Exponential has a way slower curve to it, and it's a little bit easier to hit shots on, but your mechanics mechanics will definitely take a hit. And it's a lot harder to be quick and whip your crosshair around really quickly on exponentials. So I recommend a higher sensitivity for exponential players. Then for linear and exponential players on the ADS sensitivity, I'd recommend 11%. Try this in an aim trainer or just go hop in game and see how your aim feels. 11% is what I've been using for years now, and it is absolute beams. I highly recommend it. Then for the ADS turning boost ramp time, put this at 0.20 seconds. And the reason why is because whenever you're aiming from long range, it gives you a little bit of a exponential boost to your linear. It feels like it almost slows your aim down from the middle point of where you start moving your joystick. So I do recommend you give that a shot and tell me what you think in the comments. I'm actually curious to see if you guys use this or not. Then for the look dampening time, of course, keep this at 0. Then for the input curve, it is just not debatable. Linear is way better by far, especially when it comes to mechanics. It's a little bit easier to aim on exponential. I will say if you're used to playing other FPS games or if you've been on exponential for a long time, but to get the best mechanics and to reach your highest potential, I would recommend linear. Then for aim assist strength, obviously you want to keep that at 100%. Then for your left stick dead zone, I keep this at 15% because this is my movement dead zone. I don't want this to accidentally be moving me around super slightly. I want to have full control of that, and I don't want it to be super sensitive like I need my right stick to be. So I keep that at 15%, but I do keep my right stick dead zone at 5%. It does depend on if your controller has tons of drift. If you have uncontrollable stick drift, obviously you need to turn this up, but I do recommend a 5% because it does give you that precise keyboard and mouse almost crosshair placement on controller. And if you try to learn and stick with 5 dead zone for a while, your aim can become absolutely deadly. So I do recommend 5%, but if you are going to bump it up, I would recommend anywhere about 8 to 12% if you have to, but I want to go any higher than 12% because that is super choppy. And for enable foot controller, keep this off. This does not remove input delay. Some people says it does, but it does not, I promise you. And now we're going to move on to the audio tab. So obviously this is all completely personal preference too. It depends on what system and what type of headphones are you using. And obviously this is what I use, but I do recommend that you put the sound quality on low. This is going to help you get a little bit more FPS out of your system, especially if you're on console. This will help with input delay, so go ahead and toss it on low. But then come down to visual sound effects right here and turn this on. I do recommend you use this. If you're on console, this will hit your FPS just a little bit, but the advantage of having this on makes it absolutely worth it. You can see footsteps way before you can hear them. And visualize sound effects also will show you where people are shooting super far away as well, way before you can hear them. So I definitely recommend you keep this one on. Then, like I said, the rest of this would be just personal preference. And now we're going to talk about controller binds. Now, controller binds completely depend on what type of controller player you are. Now, if you don't have paddles on the back of your controller like me, my binds will not work for you if you play non-claw or if you play claw. I use 4 paddles on the back of my controller, and all of my face buttons are right down here on the back of my controller. So these are the settings that I recommend for 4 paddle players. Obviously, you can copy my Fortnite settings right down here, but we're going to go into game and I'm going to show you what my paddles do on the back of my controller. So top right paddle will be my edit button. My bottom right paddle is my reload. My top left paddle is my build mode, and my bottom left paddle is my pickaxe. And then for sprint, like I said, I have a controller scroll wheel, but this also has a middle mouse bind right here, and that is what I use to sprint. So I can sprint with this, and I can sprint right here without ever having to take my thumb off my right joystick. But if you only have 2 paddles, I recommend that you have your edit bind on your top right paddle on this one here, and your build mode on your top left paddle here, and then use your reload and your pickaxe bind on your face button, and you're just gonna have to take your thumb off the stick for those. And obviously, just like me, keep jump on your down left stick. Now, if you play completely standard and you don't play claw, 4 paddles or 2 paddles, and you just have a standard grip and you take your thumb off your joystick, I recommend that you use down right stick for your build mode, down left stick for your edit, your left on your D-pad for your tactical sprint, then all of your other binds on your face buttons. I have seen a few non-claw, non-paddle players use right bumper to jump so they can have their jump, their build mode, and their edit all without taking their finger off the right stick, all while playing standard. But that is pretty difficult to get used to. But the problem is you want to make sure you don't take your finger off your right joystick as much as possible. So jump, build mode, and edit are the most optimal binds to maybe try to figure out some way to use those without having to take your finger off the stick. But otherwise, that's why I recommend people play claw or buy paddles, because paddles are super cheap now. You can pick up a paddle attachment for 2 paddles for like 25 bucks nowadays. So I recommend you get those. But if you don't have them, that's totally fine. Now, if you play claw, I recommend your Y be your edit, your X be your switch mode, your toggle pickaxe be your B button, and your A be your reload. Pretty much while playing claw, Y and X are the 2 easiest buttons to press, and you're going to be pressing those 2 a lot. So you want your edit and build build mode there because they're the two easiest binds to press. And then obviously keep jump on your down left stick. Then for your edit controls, I recommend to everyone use RB as your reset. RB is the best reset on your controller, and I recommend your confirm bind to be your left bumper. Your two bumpers are the absolute best thing for resetting and confirming. And if you don't have trigger stops like this on your controller, confirming your edits can be a little bit quicker than just using confirm on release. So that's why I recommend using your bumpers as well. But guys, if you have any questions, go ahead and leave them down below in the comments. I'm going to be replying to as many people as I can. And also don't forget to go check out Noble Chairs down in the description as well. And if you found this video helpful, you'll definitely enjoy this one on screen too. And that should be able to help you out. So go ahead and click it and I'll see you in there. Thanks for watching to the very end. Much love. Peace.